The home is a core place for children to learn, to respect and be in awe of other people around them. And if you are able to instill that in your children, they are going to be the awesome human beings who make our world an awesome world for everyone to live in.
Diana Ferrus is a South African writer, poet, and storyteller who grew up under the apartheid regime. She shares reflections on her mother.
My mother was very straightforward. Oh my word. She would say it to people the way that it is. I am so thankful for that. Because in our house, there was no secrets. And today I have nothing to hide.
For my grandmother, the respect for one's self, always sticking by what you believe and being honest and being true to yourself, largely made her who she really is. Because if it's one thing people can never fault my grandmother on, is that she was always honest about whatever she felt. I have an immense respect for the fact that she stuck to her guns, whatever they were. I think we live in a world now where people change their minds when they feel like it, and we don't see enough of integrity in our leaders. So therefore, you raise communities and people who just feel that they can get away with doing whatever, and they can change their stories, and they can say one thing one day and the next day say something else. And then there's no trust in leadership and what leadership actually says. But people like my grandmother and my grandfather, they lived by their integrity every single day. That's how I think we got our freedom, was a big part of the fact that they stuck to their guns.
So one of the strong qualities that clearly I picked up from Ray was not to be vengeful and looking at the world with generosity in your heart. She and my dad split up. I never found out exactly why. I know you fell in love with somebody else whom you later married. She never said a bad word about Solly, never. The closest she got was once she commented, well, at least Solly had nice hair. People asked me years afterwards, well, if you met the man who put the bomb in your car, how would you react? And I did meet him. He went to the Truth Commission and he gave them important information, and I ended up shaking his hand. It wasn't easy. He went away beaming, but then I believe, this is what I heard, he went home and he cried for 2 weeks. And it would be in the spirit of Ray to humanize human relationships rather than to think in purely categorical terms about right and wrong and good and evil. I think that was an important quality that I picked up quite imperceptibly from her.
She was dignified, and people could feel it. If it's ingrained, it shines out.
You find that dignity within yourself and you pursue that dignity, because dignity is also a pursuit. It is a natural given that everyone should be treated with a certain level of dignity, but you also encourage that dignity through your own actions.
Chester Williams is a former South African rugby player, best known as the star winger of the South African national Springbok team that won the 1995 Rugby World Cup against New Zealand, their first post-apartheid win. He tells us how his mother helped him.
No one believed in me as an individual when it comes to the rugby field. I was always deemed to be too small, could not kick, could not pass, but My mother was the one that always inspired me to be where I am today, because she was saying, doesn't matter what they say, I believe in you and I know you're going to be successful one day. When it comes to excellence, we train hard and honestly, once you achieve it, you see the rewards in the end of all the training you've done.
Self-respect is also a process because there are so many influences from the outside. Even in one's house as a child, the challenges are there from what is being said to you. So I think self-respect comes when you realize that you are worth it, that you are equal to others. And I think all persons who are angry or feel some kind of pain towards their parents, their grandparents, need to reflect to find out who they were. What happened to them? I wrote a lot about my mother. I spoke a lot about her and about my father. And it was only after I have really analyzed their situation that I could come to terms with myself. It was long years of feeling uncomfortable, of feeling so vulnerable.
Ilana Meyer is a South African former long-distance runner and Olympic medalist. She talks about what she received from her mother.
My mom was definitely one of the most inspirational people in my life. Her absolute unconditional love that she had, not only for me, but for everybody. She was there, good days, bad days. Her unconditional love really gave me to be brave, to really become the person that I'm meant to be, to try new things, not to be scared of failing.
The values that my grandmother has given to me, to believe in oneself, have the courage to be whoever you want to be, no matter what, and just a sense of self-worth in myself. She just said, don't let anybody tell you who you can be and who you shouldn't be. You can choose whoever you want to be and you can be whatever you want to be and fight for that, whatever it means at whatever cost. But I want you, as my children, to just live your life, but live it to the best of your ability and the way that you want to live your life. Don't let anyone dictate to you how you should and should not live your life.
I grew up in a world where women were strong and emphatic and independent and doing things. These things just seeped in quite spontaneously.
You know, I was a parent at a very young age, and I grew up with my children. They are my friends. You know, we do things together. There was a time where we used to cycle together. There was a time where the whole house had skateboards. I'm not the one who will tell people when is the right time to have children or when is the right time not to have children. You can have children anytime you want. It's important that you become a present parent with your children. Know when your children's teeth are falling out. Know when your children are in their puberty stages. Be there for them. We are so busy with so many things, and our children are learning so many things from internet, from the technology. And we need to guard them against that. We need to be there. They need to hear it firsthand from mom and dad.
It's a long, hard, and difficult road. But I think some of the values, as it were, that are constant and that don't change are ones of respect and generosity. In this day and age when bullying and harassment are so rife, get back to the basics of what it means to be truly human.
What my grandmother has taught me and that I could possibly say about parenthood and becoming a mother, and fathers do become mothers as well, so I don't take them out of this at all. It takes a village to raise a child. Who you surround yourself with and who you surround your child with, your support system is everything.
People who are single parents as well, they make good parents. We are very quick to judge, you know, to say, oh, it should be a father and a mother. It should be a husband and a wife. It could be anybody. It could be two same sexes. The most important is the love that this child is going to be having.
When I was a child, up to about 7 years, we lived with my grandmother in what we would call a little walkie. She was big built, and she had this small bed, and then I would go and sleep by her under her arm. She would blow out the little lumpy that she had, and then she would tell me stories.
I came home one day and I said, "Look, Mum, I've got the penny I didn't pay on the bus." "You didn't pay on the bus?" I said, "No, I didn't pay." She said, "You must pay. The bus is for the public. It's for everybody. You must pay." I said, "But the conductor was upstairs. He didn't come downstairs." She said, "You go upstairs and you pay him before you get off the bus." I remember that so vividly. That idea that you don't cheat, you don't look for shortcuts. Simple integrity in relation to the ordinary incidents of life. I think that was instilled in me through my mom.
Zulus say kuhlonishwana kabili, that respect is double-edged. Old people should respect young people, but young people should respect old people.
My parents, even though they were struggling themselves, they were always there to make sure that other people get looked after.
My mother was always know that you came on earth with nothing and you take nothing with you. Sometimes she would cook, and when a visitor came, we as girls really hated it because visitors would be given food before us. That's how she always lived. She would say, you always have to feed a visitor because maybe this is the first meal they're having or this is their last meal.
We had almost no food, and whatever there was, we would share. So I got used to sharing.
As I grew up, I knew that I could not be holding on to things, material things. I work very hard for everything that I have, and I love life, and I live life to the fullest. And that makes it very easy for me to be able to give of me, to give to others that don't have, whether it's monetary or it's my time or it's just me being there, because that's what my mother instilled in us, that if you have, give.
I would say to my mother, thank you for teaching me faith and giving me my faith. It's just gotten me through some really difficult times in my life. And I'm so grateful that she taught me that. Without it, I'm not sure how I would have coped with a lot of things. To my grandmother, I sometimes get sad when I think about what she went through and what she endured, but I'm grateful to her because I, possibly couldn't be a businesswoman in whatever business I choose to be. I couldn't live in whatever neighborhood I feel like living in. I couldn't send my kids to whatever school I felt like sending my kids to. I couldn't live in a diverse, multicultural country where there is a certain level of harmony and unity, and that you have a collective group of people who are working towards really wanting to make things better. She was extremely bold and courageous in ensuring that she fought to make sure that I can have that for myself. I can make whatever choices I want to make, and she supports me, and she's there for me, and she believes in me.
If I had to sum up her most distinctive qualities, the first would be that deep, intense humanity and belief in human beings, their possibilities, and in human emancipation. And to try for it here on earth. Number two, the humor, the ability to soften some of the prickly things in life, that moment every freedom fighter's waiting for. Will they come for me? Will I be brave? Will I get through? They'd come for me, they'd try to kill me, and I'd only lost an arm. I felt fantastic. The third element of hers was her softness, but it'd be a very resilient, survivalist softness based on generosity and based on seeking out the goodness in people, even in people who are doing terrible things. It's a kind of an optimism in life that sustained her through very, very difficult periods.
I never thought my mother could get old. Only other people's mothers got old, not mine. But there she was, Sis Rose, sitting in the wheelchair I bought her a few years back. The wheelchair she was once reluctant to use because that would be admitting to herself that her legs were gone forever, staring into empty space. In the evenings, some of us, her children, daughters-in-law, nieces and nephews, grandchildren, took over the bedroom when the throngs had left and sang for her. Rosie, my girl, masithandane. She loved the attention and she smiled wanly.
Somebody said to me the other day, don't you feel lucky that you have that blood running in your veins? And I was like, I guess I do. I do. I can say I come from that, and I can say that that's a part of who I am. So when I have my moments where I feel, I don't know if weak's the right word, or vulnerable, I remind myself, I'm like, my grandmother is Winnie Madikizela Mandela.